welcome back to my YouTube channel, and you are watching The Nerdy Grail. Now, I'm going to waste no time. Already, we are another episode deep into Agatha All Along. It was episode 5 this week, and we are over the halfway point. And this episode is titled Darkest Hour, Wake Thy Power. And this is the shortest episode of the series so far. Clocks in around 30 minutes, and that's with the credits. And strangely enough, for being the shortest episode, a lot does seem to happen in this episode. I'm going to talk about the positives and the negatives, because there were some really good positives in this episode, but unfortunately, again, there were some negatives about this episode. So, firstly, it starts with the Salem 7 again, as we sort of got the idea that they are finally now coming after Agatha, and they're making it onto the road, and they're closing in. So it starts with them disguised as different animals. To start with, we have like a snake and a fox. They're all hunting, looking for Agatha, and they're getting close. Lilia warns the group. She can almost feel their presence, and so warns the group that they need to get away. Agatha also agrees, so they start to flee, but they eventually get surrounded, and Teen gets attacked. And they sort of come to the conclusion that the best way to get away from them is to get off the road. And so they decide to use some old-fashioned form of magic, a bit of a stereotype that some of the group don't really like to use nowadays, is that witches like to use broomsticks to fly away. So they fly away on broomsticks. However, eventually, once Teen mentions, why haven't we been doing this all along, they start to crash down back onto the road, because the road forces them back down. And the next trial suddenly starts to appear as the Salem 7 magically appear in front of them again. They race inside the house and realise that the Salem can't come in at that point. And then discover that this trial, because each trial has been set up for a particular person, and this time it's set up for Agatha. This is Agatha's trial. And they talk about how it's lit under a blood moon, which shows that the veil between the living and the dead is thin. And so what better thing to do during, a pathway between the living and the dead being available, is Teen finds a Ouija board, and as soon as he finds the Ouija board, the timer starts. The 30-minute timer that they've had for each trial begins. And he starts to go over some of the rules and the warnings when using the Ouija board, where he talks about how you can't taunt the spirits, you can't talk over each other, and you need to make sure that you don't remove your hand from the planchette, otherwise it could release a spirit that they then need to deal with. They start the session, and initially it seems like they might be communicating with Mrs. Hart, because it spells out Mrs. Hart, and all of a sudden then, Lilia lets go of the planchette, and Agatha starts freaking out. It almost looks like she's getting possessed by a spirit, and she starts talking exactly like Mrs. Hart. You even hear her voice actor come over Agatha. And so it seems like Agatha's been possessed by Mrs. Hart. But we do find out that actually it's not. Agatha's just playing a bit of a trick on the crew, and so she sits down and they start to do it properly. However, when they then restart the session again, it starts talking about how Death is talking to them, and it wants Agatha, and it wants the group to punish Agatha. Obviously, it keeps spelling out the fact that it wants to punish Agatha. Agatha starts to freak out, lets go of the planchette, and then a whole whirlwind of chaos starts to emerge. And Jen manages to stop it, saying that they need to punish Agatha, and in order to pass the trial, they need to punish her in some way, shape, or form, whether it's physical, mental. They start listing different things they could do, like tying her up. Rio says, we could just slit her throat. Obviously, Agatha protests through all this, and then the lights go out. And all the group are a bit shocked. And then when the lights come back on, Agatha is gone. And so the group start to search for her, thinking that she simply just run away because she doesn't want to obviously get hurt or attacked by her supposed friends. But Teen eventually finds her after hearing some weird moaning and groaning and creepy breathing noises coming from above, and sees what looks like a possessed form of Agatha hanging from the ceiling. She's pale, black around the eyes, there's some cracks in her face, teeth are sharp, and it seems she's gone all demonic. She flies from the ceiling, her bones start contorting into weird shapes, she starts spider crawling along the floor, starts attacking the group. They start flickering the lights again, and then the demonic form of Agatha vanishes, and then a ghost starts coming down the stairs, and we find out that that is Evanora Harkness, Agatha's mother. And then Agatha magically appears back again. But Evanora tells the group that they need to leave Agatha behind. You can't take her with you. You should leave her here for me to punish her. And Agatha wants to get to the bottom as to why her mother hates her so much. And her mother says that she was evil from the day she was born. And she was evil from the day she was born. And she wanted her gone from the very beginning. Which obviously leaves Agatha quite emotional. Jen tries to leave because of everything that Agatha's done in the past, thinking, well, she deserves it. But Agatha starts begging and pleading with the group not to leave her with the mother because obviously she could hurt her and she's scared of what will happen. The mother then starts to possess Agatha again, so Agatha turns all demonic. But Alice then starts using her powers to defend Agatha, so shoots her powers directly at Agatha. The demon then splits from Agatha, but obviously as Alice is filtering her powers through Agatha, Agatha then starts stealing Alice's powers, because it was mentioned previously in the series that she can only steal other witches' powers if she's attacked with those powers, so starts draining Alice. Teen obviously is starting to build a good relationship with Alice, is concerned, obviously is worried about her safety, tells Agatha to stop, but she doesn't. So then goes to the Ouija board and asks again who's speaking or who's there, and it starts spelling out the name, and it spells out the name Nicholas Scratch. And he screams that at Agatha, and she automatically stops, and then Alice crashes to the floor, and the exit of the trial magically appears. However, it seems like it's too late, because Teen goes to investigate Alice, and her body looks all drained, skeletal, cracks around the eyes, she's got no energy, and she doesn't seem to be moving. And it is revealed that actually Alice didn't pass the trial. Alice is no longer with us, and Agatha unfortunately killed her. And obviously Teen is then really frustrated and angry. Agatha leaves the trial. Teen follows, and so does the rest of the crew. He confronts Agatha, really angry, asks her why she did it. Agatha tells some lie, saying that she can't control it. But obviously we know that's not true. Teen sort of, in his frustration says that he would never use, if he got powers, he would never use it for any evil purposes. And, is this what witches do? You use your powers to seek revenge or control other people. Agatha starts snickering at the thought of him being good, and just taunts him by saying, "You're just like your mother." And at that point I thought, so it could be, obviously there's the link there, this could be actually Agatha's son, and there we go. They finally sort of, revealed it without actually saying. But as Agatha starts to walk away, Jen and Leah gang up on Agatha, drag her off the road, throw her into the quicksand sinking mud that we saw a couple of episodes ago with Mrs. Hart. Agatha's pleading for Teen to help, questioning why the crew are doing that. She starts sinking. We see Jen and Lily are just standing there, looking dead on at Teen, as Teen's hands are starting to glow blue. It's almost like he's got some magical powers that have finally been released and starting to form. And then all of a sudden, he hears all the cries, all the screams, gets angry, and then flings both of the remaining girls into that sinking mud as well, and they sink under the mud. And then it pans up, and we just see Teen, who now has a black crown on his head, which is in the exact shape, just a different colour, to Wanda's that we see in the end of WandaVision and through Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which, we usually get a big reveal around episode 4 or 5 of these MCU shows. And to me, this personally, I've seen lots of theories going around online long before this series came out, and this episode almost confirms those. They've not actually said it on screen, but I'm fairly certain now that they have gone down this route, and that is exactly who Teen is. And the belief is that Teen is playing the reincarnated version of Wanda's son, Billy, who will later go on to become Wiccan and join the Young Avengers. So it seems like maybe Teen is actually Wiccan, which is, is interesting. it wasn't totally unexpected. Like I said, people have theorized that for a while, and it was sort of high up there in people's theories. But it was nice to see it on screen. But yeah, so that is pretty much where the episode ends. It was quite a short, sweet episode, really, with a lot of backstory and detail into it. It was an alright episode. It was better than last week's episode. I'd say the weak element of this was the trial, because to be fair, a lot of it was just discussion. You could have had Agatha meet her mum on the road and have these discussions. It didn't really need to be in with the trial, and also the 30-minute time limit didn't really play a significant role at all in this episode. You never felt like they were pressured for time. I actually forgot that there was a 30-minute timer at one point. So yeah, again, the trial was very, very weak, if I'm honest. But I loved the backstory of all the characters, and I loved how Agatha was reacting. I loved the demonic form of Agatha as well, the possessed form. That was really, really cool and very creepy. I like it when this show is being creepy. So that saves it a little bit for me. And the reveal of Teen being potentially Wiccan at the end is also pretty cool. So I would say overall, this episode probably gets about a 7 out of 10 for me. It was a decent episode, and I did quite enjoy it. Like I said, a lot better than last week's episode. Last week's episode was the weakest by far, but this episode was a lot better. So I highly recommend you check this episode out. But that is going to be my little review of Agatha All Along episode 5. We're starting to get towards the end of the series now. And I am overall enjoying this series, and I look forward to see episode 6 next week and see where it continues. But for now, this is going to be the Nerdy Grail signing off. I hope you all have a fantastic day. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye for now, everyone.